This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good night, Herb Cloutier. Ooh, I love the French sound of that. You say it for me, Herb.
Well, I'm glad to be on. It is Herb Cloutier, and you got it right the first time, though,
Ooh,
Joe.
thank
So
you,
that's
thank you,
good.
thank you. I appreciate
Most
it.
people can't get it right the first time.
Oh, I got some practice and some French practice while I was in Canada, for a bit in the Montreal side. So yeah, Herb
Oh,
Cloutier.
very nice, very
Love
nice.
it.
And I know most people can't get your first name
Oh
right.
my
So
gosh,
we have
yeah.
something in common.
Well, I think the right and it's all pronunciation, right? So it doesn't really bother me that much, but it bothers my wife, so she doesn't like it when I'm called.
I bet it does.
Yeah.
I'm sure she corrects everyone.
Yeah. She's like, Angel, it's time. Come on, you need to let people know it's Angel. It's not Engel, it's Angel.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, it's the conversation is going so good. Why stop while we're going? So I
Right.
mean, but do tell us, what part of the world are you in right now, Hub?
I live in upstate New York. So to give people an idea, it's 4 hours north of New York City. I live in the Lake George, Warren County area. Most people don't understand when you say New York, they think obviously the city, but no, I'm in upstate, 4 hours north, where it's cold.
Yeah. I came up upstate, but I think it was possibly like 2 hours. It was a Jewish community, like huge amounts of Jews. It's the most Jews I saw when I was there. I can't remember the name, but it was probably like 2 hours. But it was definitely not New York City. I loved it though. I love that type of country finish.
Were you 2 hours north of New York City? So you were in between me then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So that would be the Poughkeepsie area.
That's the name. That's the place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's pretty cool too. It was like a village type setting, and the trees, and then you see like houses, and then you see guys in the black garb, right? And
Yes.
women.
Oh, definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm familiar with the area.
Yeah, it's a pretty intriguing experience. But I mean, do tell us, like, which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this specific time in history?
Well, I think it was actually podcasting. You hit me up through LinkedIn, and I don't use LinkedIn a lot. It's not as much as I should. I mean, I am a social media specialist, which I do in my day job and whatnot. But you reached out to me, and I think it was for the fact that my talents on LinkedIn were podcasting, social media, broadcasting, and whatnot. And we connected through that. You reached out to me over a year ago, and tried to get the first set of the 12-minute convos going, and you know how life gets into play, and things didn't work out, but I'm glad to be on now.
Yeah, definitely. Now, tell us about your podcast, please.
It's a little bit, I don't do one show. I actually own a network with 16 weekly shows going. I do not produce all of them.
Oh, so you don't do the rant? The rant is not yours?
Yes, the rant is mine.
Okay.
That is my show. Yes, I produce that. I'm also the host, but I'm also the owner of the network, Earplug Podcast Network. So we run 16 weekly shows.
Wow.
I started out 8+ years ago podcasting with my very first podcast, just to get a couple of friends together to talk about comic books, movies. I'm a big comic book collector throughout the years. And as that grew, we started Fanboys Inc., or I started Fanboys Inc., and had 5-6 weekly shows. And then through real life, some personal situations came into play, and I had to step back. And it took about 2 years off. And after a few people, some contacts and friends within the comic book community reached out to me and said, "We miss your voice. Are you coming back? Come back. Get back on the mic. Do it. And after some really hard thinking and dealing with my real life situations and some personal issues, I started the Earplug podcast back in the middle of 2017.
Well done. I'm glad that you jumped back out. No, that's great. Now, tell me about the community building part of your life. It seems as though when you start doing anything, there's a community that builds around you, which speaks highly of who you are. Who did you learn that from?
with the podcasting and with the comic books, obviously, with people not being aware of that community, obviously it's growing with the movies, Marvel, DC, what's going on. Back in the day, being a nerd or reading comic books, it was kind of like, you didn't want to tell anybody that you were a comic book nerd or a comic book geek. You weren't going to get a date, and girls weren't going to be interested in you. But as the popularity grew with the Marvel movies and whatnot and podcasting, it became, we weren't the minority. It became pop culture. It became mainstream, and I think that's one of the best things I've learned out of the podcasting. And one of the greatest things was that me traveling to conventions and meeting new people, the creators and the artists within the community of the comic books, I became good friends with them and learning all the ins and outs and doing that. As far as podcasting, my start, my biggest influence was Kevin Smith. If you're not familiar with Kevin Smith, he's the director, producer of Clerks, which is a cult classic, a dogma. And throughout the years, he became the pop culture king or the icon that people look up to for comic books and pop culture. He's been a writer with DC. He's done some stuff for Marvel. He's doing his thing. I found out about podcasts listening to his show, Smodco Network. I'm like, oh wow, what are these? These are podcasts? I'm listening to radio, but wow, what is this internet radio thing that he's got going on? And as I listened, I was like, wow, if he can do this, I can pick up a mic and do it. And I literally started 24 hours. I bought a laptop, four microphones, a board.
Wow.
Learned how to, no joke, Angel. I learned Pro Tools Lite within literally, I did not go to bed for 24 hours. And then the next day, I called my friends. They're like, what are you doing next Wednesday? And they're like, what do you mean? I go, I talked to you about let's doing this podcast thing. Let's do it. They're like, really? I'm like, yes, let's go. And that's how it started.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, love it. Thanks for sharing that. Wow. So where can people go to connect with you or even just follow what you're doing?
The best way probably is to get me through Instagram or Facebook. Instagram would be Herb Cloutier, herb.cloutier. You can find me on that. Twitter, same handle. The network would be Earplug Podcast through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I really spend a lot of time on Instagram more so just because of the imagery and the way it's set up. I love Instagram quite a bit. Just seeing imagery, you can kind of see what really is going on. So I kind of focus on that a lot.
All right. Tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please.
Well, I think you know that. Podcasting, I mean, I haven't done my own show, The Rant, which I think you're somewhat familiar with, on a consistent basis, because now with the new network, I've become more of a businessman, and I think you are also familiar with that end of it as well. Sure. So running the back end of the actual network, taking care of my podcasters. I have podcasters throughout the country, whether it's the East Coast, it's Kentucky, it's Poughkeepsie, it's New York State. We have a large range of our podcasters all over the United States. So making sure that they're taken care of, they can get into using my connections to get into conventions, getting their shows up to date. I upload all the shows. It's just me uploading all those shows. They send me the files. I upload them to the network. So me doing more of the business end and being a business person, an entrepreneur, I've kind of stepped back a little bit from being on the mic. I still do my show, but I want to make sure that I can get them taken care of and give them their voice and give the network what it needs for our listeners.
Yeah, great idea. Great idea. How does it make you feel? I mean, just looking back, I mean, you took the break, you started again, you're out there now, you're helping other podcasters get out there. How does all of this make you feel?
It makes me feel real good. Doing what you enjoy loving what you enjoy doing is important. I think, everybody seems to, the 9 to 5, the work schedule Monday through Friday. And I'm sure you've come across this with many of the other podcast guests that you've had, they enjoy what they're doing. And I think that's most important of all. And I enjoy it. Yes, it's stressful at times. And is it a job? No. I don't consider the job as stressful. With there's challenges, whatnot. It's how you handle that and how you tackle each situation. I enjoy it, and I love being able to help other podcasters get their voice out. And at the same time, I love listeners. I love the listeners coming in and reacting to each different show. Like I said, there's 16 shows and all of them are different. It could be a relationship show. It's pop culture. It's movies. It's politics. It's life, life, what am I going to call it? Life coaching and whatnot. So the new network really branches out. And I think I get enjoyment because I don't even know what these shows are. When I put them up, I rely on my podcasters to give me good audio, whatnot. And I'm like a fan of my own network because I get to listen to all these episodes for the first time. So it is definitely fun and enjoyable.
Wonderful. Well, amazing audience. You're hearing it live again from Herb Cloutier. Again, he is the podcast host, producer, and owner of Earplug Podcast Network. Herb, aka DW. Let's switch gears for a moment now. Let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. What is your earliest childhood memory?
Now, I did look at the questions that you gave me, and I have to say this one, everyone don't take this as a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. I was obviously a young kid. I fell about 15 feet out of a tree because I felt I was playing Star Wars by myself. I was playing a character. We were out in the woods and doing our thing, and I climbed up a tree. And I fell about 15 feet, hit right on my back, and it took my breath away. I passed out, but I woke up as sore as I was. I got back up and kept playing. It scared me, but I kept going. And I think that really resonates with me now as an adult that, you know what, we've all fall down, but we all can pick ourselves up and start over. Nothing is the end all. Anytime that you're down and out, or anytime you feel that there's a hard situation, or even myself in this situation, I just remember that time going, I could have died. It could have been the end all. That was it. If I could pick myself up then, I can pick myself up today, no matter what happens.
I think the question I would ask is, would you jump again?
Hell no. You know what, Angel? I think when we're kids, we don't have that fear factor. And I think as an adult, you know what? I don't know. You know what? I don't know if I would jump again.
Because I think if you had the right platform, the right landing, I think
yes.
I think from what I'm hearing, I think you actually did jump again.
Yes, you're probably right. Yeah, I did. I jumped back in to go back into the new network. Yes, you know what? Yes, metaphorically, yes, I agree with you. But I think as we get older, we lose something. There's something to be said about childhood and the lack of fear and enjoyment. And an adult, it's the everyday days in and days out, and I can't pay my bills. I got to do this. I got to do that. So there's that fear factor. But you know what? You're probably right. I probably did jump when I remade the Earplug Podcast Network.
Yeah, and I love it. I think if you didn't jump, I don't think Earplug would have been where it is today. You definitely ensured that there was the correct landing, put the things in place, but you jumped again, and that fascinates me, my friend. That fascinates me.
Well, thank you. The Russian judge gave me 9.5 on my landing, so that was
good. All right, my friend, if we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
Well, I know that you asked some questions, and you asked me the question when we answered our email, which was "Come Fly Away with Me" by Styx.
Right.
But as a 12-year-old, it was "Shock the Monkey" by Peter Gabriel.
Okay.
Funny that my other logo for the network is a monkey, and it's funny how things come full circle. But being 12, I wasn't really big into music, but that song really resonated with me. It was something different that was going on than in the 80s, and Peter Gabriel really, that song just resonated with me. It was something totally different than any of the other songs that were out there in the 80s. So I listened to that on repeat over and over and over.
Sweet. All right, my friend. Well, we've arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
Yes.
Who have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Many.
Are you married?
No.
Do you have children?
No.
Do you believe in God?
No.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Oh, I most definitely do.
Do
Most
you-
definitely do. I couldn't do that without them.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
Can I lie?
Sure, go for it. We'll never know.
No, I'm not 3 hours a day. No.
All right. Do you have an inner circle of friends? I said that already. I got lost.
Yes.
My apologies.
That's okay.
I'm catching up now. Here we go. Do you watch? All right. Here we go. Screen time. What about screen time? You know what I forgot? All right. So usually I ask, how about 3 hours a week? And that's why I got lost. So how about 3 hours a week? Yeah. And what about
Yes,
screen
most
time?
definitely.
The phone
Yes,
and or the
most definitely.
computer. More than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Oh, sadly, at least 10 to 12 hours a day, editing podcasts and my day job. Yeah, definitely more than 8 hours a day.
If you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents who you are, Herb Cloutier, what would you say that is?
After you listen to this podcast, unplug, go out and hang out with friends and family and experience the real world.
Love it. Even if it means jumping out of a tree.
Yeah, let's not get your listeners to jump out of a tree. We don't want to do that. Most definitely. I feel that we're such a plugged-in society, and sometimes it's great. I make sure for myself every weekend to literally turn my phone off, not do social media, and actually enjoy what it was like before there was the internet. So, and I think it's important.
Love it. Herb, this was such a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
No, but not really. I just want to say thank you so much for finally connecting with you. And if I may, I think I would like you to have you on my podcast. It's a little bit longer than 12 minutes, but I would love to have you as a guest if you're willing.
I'll be there, definitely. It's either two things. It's either one person's jumping or another person to catch you. So I'll be there to catch you, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you very much, my friend. I can't wait. It'll be a great time.
Sounds great. Herb Cloutier, thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-minute convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This segment has been brought to you by Amazel Enterprise.